Good afternoon, Counseling 501 classmates. This week I thought it was very interesting to go through and find some complaints made against counselors in our states. And for the state of West Virginia, I found that from the years 2016 to 17, there was only 4 complaints filed against counselors. But then moving on from 2017 to 18, I found 14 cases, and anything after that wasn't already on public record. But as I was looking through the themes and kind of what was going on in these cases, they ranged from many things. Some of them was violation of confidentiality. There was actually quite a few of those. A lot of them were violations related to records and not allowing the client access to records. But what I found to be the most common complaint against counselors here is actually sexual misconduct or sexual relationships with clients. And now we know that that's prohibited in counseling, as it is in many professional, areas. But the ACA code A.5.C, it prohibits sexual relationships between clients and counselors. And I think it goes on to state that sexual relationships with former clients are prohibited for a 5-year period after the last professional conduct. And so with the cases that I saw in West Virginia, I couldn't really review them. So I had to find one from a different state, which led me to this case that is Jessica Maxwell, who was a LPC in Louisiana. It was a case against her for sexual relationship with a former client, which she was found guilty of, and their action was to suspend her for 2 years. But not only did they suspend her, she had to complete 6 education hours that was approved by the NBCC or ACA. They must have focused on professional boundaries. She also had to pay legal fees of up to $1,200 and a fine for the violations of $3,000 in that case. So they take it pretty seriously, but then I went further and looked at how West Virginia handles those when they are found guilty, which in the cases that I reviewed online, they were all dismissed. But had they been guilty, the state law for West Virginia says that, let me pull it back up, I had it up. The state law 61-8F-2 prohibits sexual contact by mental health professionals, and it includes a former client or former patient. And it also says that this is a violation between the professional and the client, and any person who violates this article is guilty of a felony and conviction thereof, and should be fined up to $10,000 and imprisonment for 10 years. This is something they take very seriously. And I just want to touch on the last part of that of what does the ACA Code of Ethics say about counselor impairment? And I found ACA Code C.2.G, which is the impairment clause of the ACA. And basically it's what happens that you need to be self-aware. Like, you need to know what's going on with you mentally, physically, and anything that's holding you back from performing the duties of your job. And that's important so that you can catch yourself before you do get in a situation where you have violated these code of ethics. I didn't find anything in my state laws related to that, but I did find that from the ACA. And this says, what's a question that this brings to mind for you? I guess if we look at the sexual relationship part that I spoke about in here, at what point do you become so self-aware that you realize feelings are developed? And what do you do after that? Where do you go? Who do you go to?